1.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 43 of the Before the Score podcast, our Christmas special, our 1-year anniversary spectacular, a double whammy right here this week. Thanks for joining us. 1-year episodes. Where did the time go? A lot has changed in a year. Pablo, his hair is longer. He went bald. He grew his hair back. It's the longest it's ever been. Coronavirus. Last NBA season, it stopped the night we recorded a show, and now tomorrow it's back again. Knicks are playing. Crazy times 2020. But thanks for joining us for this whole year of shows. In honor of you guys joining us for this year's shows, we'll start with the questions today. A little bit of switching up the format for the fans. Let's start off. Our first question comes from PK Patel, and he says, we'll start with the Pittsburgh Steelers here. He says, who should the Steelers draft / trade up for, and why is it Mac Jones?
Well, yeah, I know the Steelers, they do have, over $40 million to pay Big Ben next year. And the successor right now, it's not Mason Rudolph, I could tell you that. They are thin at quarterback, and PK is completely right that they need to probably take the quarterback of the future because Big Ben, in the beginning of the season, the Steelers were rolling. They actually had a run game. Their defense was playing obviously amazing. Their schedule did help them, but Big Ben was playing very well. Now, he's coming down these last 3 games in a row where they lost. Ben's looked very flustered, and he looks like an aging quarterback. So, like Mac Jones, I don't know if the Steelers, yes, they're going to have to trade up for Mac Jones because there's a chance he could be the 3rd overall quarterback drafted. There's a conversation with Fields, but obviously we got to stick with Fields over Mac Jones for the time being. But Mac Jones is right in that 3-4 spot, and the Steelers are going to have to trade up with the pick they're going to have because they're going to make the playoffs. There are other guys they could look into, like a Trey Lance, the BYU kid, Zach Wilson. There's other guys that are going to be around. So Mac Jones right now in college football, he's probably the Heisman finalist. He's going to win the Heisman. So I could see why everyone's going to get on that Mac Jones train. And from what I've seen, I think that's a good answer for them.
So the Steelers, there's going to be 5 or maybe 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round of the 2021 draft. But why waste a first-round pick on a quarterback when there is a young 23-year-old Sam Darnold available for a second-round pick in the offseason? So if I'm the Steelers, you get him for a year, send him on a Big Ben, give him the 5th-year extension, and then see what you have in him. And then if he's nothing, if you can't get fixed outside of Adam Gase, then you can go draft.
Well, Andrew, real quick to counter that point, we don't know if Sam Darnold is going to be a Jet or not next year. There's a possibility.
It's all hypothetical. It's still December.
With that 2nd pick, the Jets could trade down, and hey, Sam Darnold could be a Jet for life.
I can tell you that's not going to happen, but we can get into that later.
Well, getting into that right now, we all saw what happened yesterday, or on Sunday rather, where the Jets did the unthinkable and they did win their first game of the year. Now, many Jet fans were upset that the Jets actually won, which is actually pretty funny. That's just another storyline for 2020. The fact that Jet fans are upset when they lose, but it does make sense for a team that does not have a clear direction. The possibility that they could have a number 1 overall pick would have been huge for the New York Jets. That being said, you don't really know about trading away your quarterback right now because you don't know what pick you're going to have in the draft. You're going to have 1, you're going to have 2, or you're going to have 3. You don't know if you're going to be able to get Trevor Lawrence. And even if you do, well, I'm just saying, and even if you do get the number 1 overall pick, there's no guarantee that Trevor Lawrence is even going to go to the New York Jets. He might just go back and try to win the Heisman next year. There's no guarantees to anything. So that's something where you really have to, you just got to cross your fingers and pray to the Jet gods for that.
I think 90% of what you said just doesn't make any sense, but I'm not going to get into that. I do think that I don't think you can have an argument for keeping Sam Darnold to what Dan said, considering that Joe Douglas did not draft him. The new head coach after Adam Gase leaves has no ties to Sam Darnold. Why would they want someone who has yet to show anything going to their 4th year and a 3rd offensive coordinator when you have the number 2 overall pick and you can have your pick of the litter outside of Trevor Lawrence when there's plenty of great options from Zach Wilson to Justin Fields to Trey Lance to Mac Jones to Kyle Trask? There's plenty of different options they can get where you can start over on that rookie contract and build on a rookie deal as opposed to trying to make something out of nothing with Sam Darnold. He just doesn't look right. He looks broken, and there's no nothing he's done the past 3 years tells you that he is someone you build your team around, especially when his price tag goes up and up each year and the front office has no ties to him.
Now, let me tell you, 4 quarterbacks who you wouldn't expect, they got higher QBRs than Ben Roethlisberger. Andy Dalton, Cam Newton, Daniel Jones, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ain't none of those quarterbacks were on an undefeated team. This team is not undefeated because of Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is actually responsible probably for 2 of these 3 losses at the least. This guy against Washington couldn't do anything. And against the Bengals, man, how embarrassing was that? I really thought it was believable that Mason Rudolph was going to come in because Ben was benched. It's just apparent. Ben is just getting the Eli treatment now. You know, everybody gets to an age where they just can't perform like they used to. Happened to Eli last year. Ben, he got injured, maybe prolonged his career a year or at least a couple games, because now he's looking a lot more like Eli in 2018 and last season than he ever did in his career. And Rivers, he might outlast all 3 of them. Who knows? This is unexpected, kind of crazy. But yeah, the Steelers on the Mac Jones point, I think Mac Jones would be a great fit for the Steelers, especially with their great receiving core. But he probably won't be there for the Steelers where they're picking. But like Andrew said, there are a lot. This is going to be the craziest quarterback carousel year of all time. I've never seen. There are possibly 6 first-round quarterbacks. You thought 5 quarterbacks in 2018 was crazy. We might get 6 this year, plus Darnold, plus Trubisky, plus Derek Carr, plus Cam Newton, plus I can keep going for at least 10 to 12 more quarterbacks, because there's that many quarterbacks that could be on the move. Mariota looks decent in his game coming in last week. It's just going to be a crazy offseason for quarterbacks, starting jobs available. 10 to 11 starting jobs would be available. It's going to be an interesting thing to see. But let's go on to our next question here, because we got a lot of them today. We'll stick with the football ones first. And this one comes from Robbie Nunez. And he says, will the Ravens make the playoffs?
I've been harping on the Ravens that they're not going to make the playoffs for a while now. And we haven't had a show in a while here to talk about that Browns-Ravens game, how incredible the Ravens looked, and obviously the Browns. It was just an offensive showdown here. And if you look, obviously they're not going to win their division. And when you look at the wild card race, you have the Browns right there at the top, the Colts, and then the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins are probably the team that the Ravens can sneak up on right now. They just don't have that tiebreaker there. I think the Ravens do have a chance, because what I saw from Lamar Jackson when he came back from from cramps or the bathroom, whatever you want to say, he just looked like a completely different quarterback to me. I mean, his play level of these last couple of weeks of when they really hit rock bottom at a certain point in the middle of the season. And once Lamar Jackson, took over for this team and just said, this is on me, I'm making sure we get to the playoffs, he's taken over, man. He's playing incredible. I really think the Dolphins are not going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to get edged out by the Ravens. The Ravens are going to be that 7th seed this year.
Yeah, I think the Ravens finally rediscovered their running game, and they're playing to their identity, which they weren't doing earlier in the year. Earlier in the year, the defense wasn't playing great, and they were falling behind in games. And Lamar Jackson is never going to be the type of quarterback in his career to kind of bring them back from a large deficit with his arm. But you look at the AFC standings, and it's them. I think the Colts are definitely going to make it. The Browns, they could pass. If the Ravens win out and the Browns lose to the Steelers week 17, the Ravens will make it over them because they swept them in the regular season. I do think the Ravens are a better team than the Dolphins. The Dolphins keep squeaking by with these ugly, tough-fought victories, but I think at the end of the day, the Ravens are the better team, and I'd give them a pretty good chance of making the playoffs.
Well, yeah, definitely. The Ravens, especially with Lamar Jackson, you look back at a few weeks ago, I was talking about how Lamar Jackson wasn't the same Lamar Jackson we saw last season. Well, I think over these last few weeks, there's been something about the Baltimore Ravens that has just awoken. And this team, they're looking like the team of last year. They are looking sort of very aggressive. They're looking very dangerous, especially going into the playoffs where anything can happen.
Yeah, the Browns and the Ravens, man, that Monday Night Football game had so much implications. It is crazy because the Browns, they could play week 17 for the division, or they could be out of the playoffs entirely. It's crazy the way the next 2 weeks are looking up for the Browns going up against the surging New York Jets, and then going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are backing into the postseason. But they could lose that game. The Ravens are probably going to win out. I'll admit it. I'm man enough to make that pick later in this show, but I can see that happening, and I can see the Ravens definitely getting in the playoffs. I really do think they're going to make it. I think either the Dolphins will slip up in the next 2 weeks, or those Cleveland Browns will slip up because the Ravens own that tiebreaker. We'll see what happens, but I would put money on the Ravens going to the postseason this year. Next question here. We have a draft question. Andrew, this one may be suited towards you today because this player seems like he may be a New York Jet. It's from Aaron Bartlett, and he says, why is everyone obsessed with the overrated Justin Fields?
I think everybody nitpicks a couple games first. I think it was Nebraska or Indiana, and now against Northwestern, where Justin Fields didn't look great. But you look at his talent level and you look at the numbers that he has put up, and yes, his decision making is questionable. Yes, he's kind of a one-read quarterback. Yes, Ohio State isn't the best producer of NFL talent at the quarterback position. But you look at his skill set, and one, he was at Georgia, so that whole Ohio State mold wouldn't have been a problem if he just started at Georgia. He just uber talented. He is the perfect mold for an NFL quarterback in the year 2020. He is a mobile quarterback, but he can win with his arm. He has a cannon for an arm. He is very mobile. He can throw on the run. He's athletic. He's won games. He's played in big games. I don't think he's anywhere near a can't miss prospect. He's obviously has some risk to him, but to call him overrated when he's the number 2 quarterback in the class, it just doesn't make any sense to me, because it's not like he's a clear lock number 2. There's debates between him, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that he's head and shoulders the second best quarterback. So I don't think he's overrated in that sense.
I think in a lot of years, you can make the argument that Justin Fields would have been the number 1 pick over a lot of players. I think you can make the argument he would have been the number 1 overall pick over Kyler Murray. I think you can make the argument, maybe not. It took Joe Burrow having the best college football season for a quarterback ever to go number 1, but you could have made the argument last year if he was able to go last year. Over the last 10 years, there are not a lot of quarterback prospects better than Justin Fields. Sorry, Dan, he would have gone number 1 over Baker Mayfield too in 2018. It just is the way it is. He's a better prospect. Justin Fields, like Andrew said, he's the perfect quarterback for the modern NFL. Just watch the Arizona Cardinals Eagles game from this weekend, and then you can see how good Justin Fields is going to be in the NFL if he can get into the right system, because these mobile quarterbacks who run all over the place like punt returners, it's crazy watching Kyler Murray. These guys are unstoppable now. Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. I mean, unless you have a cannon like Patrick Mahomes, but he's a whole different breed. But Justin Fields can be a very, very successful quarterback in the NFL. So I don't think the Jets they may be losers and missing out on the best quarterback prospect maybe of all time, but they're not getting some idiot at number 2. They're getting Justin Fields. It's not a bad pick. Tarek Al-Casey says, is Mac Jones challenging Trevor Lawrence for number 1? So anybody else want to shoot him down real quick?
No.
He also says, should Juju stop doing the TikTok dances on the logos?
I mean, yeah, I don't like what he does with that. I think it's kind of corny and doesn't make him seem like an NFL player, and it's going to rile up defenses, which is why he keeps getting hit in the mouth. But I mean, if he stops doing it now, he's kind of admitting defeat and like crumpling into the pressure of saying, oh, I got punched in the mouth. Now I'll stop dancing. I think he's just going to keep doing him.
I was about to say that he has to keep doing it. He has to keep doing it and actually overcome all these defenses trying to kill him. He's got to just play better. That's the end of the day. He's got to play better.
He has to stop doing these dances. Come on the same field that Antonio Brown changed forever, Juju's TikTok dances has to stop. We saw the hit that Antonio Brown took in that playoff game from Vontaze Burfict, and it sent him into a crazy fit of whatever insanity he is in right now. But now Juju, this hit by Von Bell, it has to get you to stop dancing. You're the best team in the league, quote unquote, former best team in the league, just lost to the Cincinnati Bengals with Ryan Finley. Ryan Finley looked fantastic yesterday. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was watching this game. I'm like, Ryan Finley looks good. It was insane.
He had 90 passing yards. Let's pump
Okay,
the
but
brakes a
come
little bit.
on. That read option 30-yard run, Giovanni Bernard running all over the place. I couldn't believe my eyes.
Does Gio Bernard actually have a mustache, or is that just his ESPN fantasy profile picture?
I think it might have just been a photo day prank thing but you can't tell under that helmet.
Yeah, I can't. I have no idea.
I'll tell you what, that is the greatest picture in fantasy football history, though. There's
Easily.
nothing better. Let's go to our next question here. A lot of Steelers questions today. This one comes from the Foul Play podcast, and they want to know, will the Steelers hold on to the NFC North?
To the AFC North, no. NFC North, I don't know. But to the AFC North, I really think the Browns, I mean, it's the Jets next week. I know the Jets had a good week against the Rams, but let's pump the brakes here. Baker Mayfield is, I'm pretty sure, 2-0 in MetLife, Jet Life, whatever. He'll be 3-0 next week. And then the Steelers have to face the Browns week 17. They got to play the Colts next week. I don't even know if they win. The way they've been playing, how could you pick them over anyone in the league right now? I mean, I think everything's going to be all square going into that final matchup. And the Cleveland Browns will beat the Steelers and really give them motivation to win the AFC North and go into the playoffs with, a great seed in hand, but also some momentum because, I mean, after that Ravens game, they looked a little depressed, but they came out pretty well against the Giants. They need that momentum to go and push into the playoffs.
Yeah, as long as the Browns beat the Jets, then this game with the Colts and the Steelers doesn't really mean that much as far as the AFC North because even if they lose to the Colts, if they beat the Browns week 17, then they win the North. So it's just you're picking that game 2 weeks in advance, and unless the Steelers look at least like competent against the Colts, I can't pick them against the Browns right now. I know they have the history of demolishing the Browns, and they demolished them early in the year. But the Colts team that we've watched the past 3 weeks is not a team that's going to beat the Browns the way they're playing. So right now, if I have to pick gun to my head, I'm picking the Browns to win the AFC North. But honestly, this next week could be completely different.
Well, I'm going to have to go over here with the Steelers only because, the Steelers, they were the team to beat, in the AFL going all season long. They have hit a little rough patch here. And you know what? Going from an undefeated team to having 3 losses, you're going to look down at them and you're going to say, look, this is the start of the decline. They're starting to come back to earth a little bit. But I'll tell you what, I do believe that they're going to win their division. And whether they do crawl into the division or they run away with that division flag, I do still think that they are going to win.
Well, I don't think they're going to be the class of the AFL, but they will be the winners of the AFC North. I do think that they get one more win over these next two games. I think it comes against the Browns. I just can't pick the Browns to beat the Steelers. Maybe call me a traditionalist, but I cannot do it yet. They got to do it. They got to prove me wrong, and then we would have picked them. But until then, I won't do it. Final Steelers question. Bobby Krepick, are the Steelers frauds?
They are frauds. They went 11-0, and now they're going to go 0-5. Just name one thing that the Steelers do well. They can't run the ball. Their offensive line cannot. I know. I was going to get to that. I meant offensively. They can't run the ball. They cannot block for Big Ben. Their offensive line has looked disgusting. Like Ben has 2 seconds to throw. Then they have a immobile old quarterback that cannot throw down the field. He cannot more than 20 yards. It's going to be a pick or it's not going to be close because he cannot throw deep. And then their passing game just overall has just not worked out because you look at what Juju and Deontay Johnson has all these drops. It's just not working well offensively. And then you look at defense, they do rush the passer well. That I'll give you that, Andrew. But against the Bengals, my God, the defense looked not good. Like they're supposed to be the best defense in the league. This is what we were saying for the first 10, 11 weeks of the season, that this is the best defense in the league. If they want to win one game in these next 2, their defense has to play elite. And I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I think the Steelers, I do think they are frauds ever since that Bud Dupree and James Conner have been injured. Even their other linebacker, who's the linebacker they got from Michigan? Why am I drawing a blank? Devin Bush. Yeah, he went down. That was a big injury. But they need to find a way to get to the quarterback, and they need to find a way to. Avery Williamson also needs to play better. He could not cover. Yeah. Giovanni Bernard, man.
Couldn't cover in the Jets anyway. He's a run stopper.
He was more known for his funny Twitter pictures than anything. But yeah, that defense needs to step up, and the run game needs to step up more than anything. James Conner needs to come back and needs to perform because Benny Snell is not getting the job done right now.
Oh no.
Next question, Josh Vargas says, will the New York Giants make the playoffs?
No. For them to make the playoffs, what I've seen the past 2 weeks from them, they're not going to beat the Ravens. I know they beat Seattle, so they have it in them if they play a flawless game. The Giants that I've watched the last 2 weeks are not beating the Ravens the way they're playing. So as long as the rest of the NFC East doesn't collapse and kill themselves, I don't see the Giants only winning one more game and making the playoffs.
Let me interject here because the rest of the NFC East is collapsing. Dwayne Haskins, one of the only healthy quarterbacks on the Washington football team, had his hands on some wings and had his hands on some other things at a Washington strip club with no mask. Next morning, they're all wearing his jersey. This man is not playing again the rest of the season. I can guarantee that. They need a quarterback. They need Alex Smith to come back. If he's not healthy, they will not win another game because they don't have any other quarterback. I don't even know if they have another quarterback. Kyle Allen's injured. Alex Smith, who knows, with his foot, and Dwayne Haskins is out here getting handfuls of some other things. I really don't know. They might have to reevaluate because I just can't see them beating the Panthers if they can't start Haskins or Alex Smith. And then they play the Eagles, Jalen Hurts. If they just don't win that game, then Giants just beat the Cowboys. It's a lot more likely today than it was yesterday before we saw those videos of Haskins.
I don't know. Well, it definitely helps, but I don't even know if that helps. I think Dwayne Haskins makes the Washington football team a worse football team. I really think they're just getting a practice squad quarterback just to have Gibson healthy. That's what they need.
I don't even know who their other. I'm trying to look up who their other quarterback is. That's how.
I don't
know.
Some dude I saw. It was like some undrafted rookie or something.
But importantly,
oh my God, Andrew! They have Tyler Heineke as their quarterback from the XFL. Are you kidding me? This guy is too busy putting together Bud Light seltzers. There's no way he's gonna lead them to a division crown.
Taylor Heineke beast. I'd rather have him over Dwayne Haskins. Let's make that very clear right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they need Antonio Gibson back for the Washington football team. But going back to the Giants. You got to take the blue goggles off, man. These last 2 weeks have not looked good. The coaching has not looked good. Apparently, you had some source that there was going to be some major news soon, but I haven't.
The major news was
Evan Ingram making the Pro Bowl.
Oh,
now let's be honest.
Yeah, I fell out of my chair.
That is major news.
That was shocking. That was shocking.
My God, yeah, that's unbelievable. But honestly, God, I don't want to say it, but if I got to pick a team to win, it's got to be them boys. I really think the Cowboys can win this division.
They're going to lose next week, so it doesn't matter.
We'll see.
If Daniel Jones is healthy, we'll see. But if Colt McCoy is a quarterback.
An unbiased perspective, I think the average NFL fan would rather see Jalen Hurts in the playoffs than any one of these quarterbacks for the rest of the NFC East.
100%.
So that's what I'm rooting for.
Well, Steve, you hit the nail on the head. If Daniel Jones is going to be healthy, the Giants are going to have a much better time trying to make it into the playoffs. But when you look at the Giants, they're one win away from being the leader of the division, and they're one loss away from being the worst team in the division. They are so close. They are right in the middle. They're a average team, but in a below average division, they have a chance. And I do think that the Giants are going to do it. I think they're going to finish strong. And just like I said about the Steelers, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And the Giants, they started off really bad. You know, they got hot in the middle. Now they're starting to hit a little rough patch. But I'll tell you what, these last few games, they're going to wake up again, and they're going to charge right into the playoffs.
Well, you're the man that predicted the Seahawks victory, so I hope you're right about this one, Pablo. It seems like you're good luck for the Giants. Final football questions come from Matt Brower and Osei Bonsu. Kind of the same question, so I'll combine them. Matt Brower wants to know what happens with Carson Wentz, and Osei Bonsu adds on, will the Colts pull the trigger next season to reunite Frank Reich and Carson Wentz?
See, I was going to get to that. Yeah, I think Carson Wentz with the Colts is a good fit. Now, if the question is, first of all, what can you get for him? And then how much money do the Eagles have to eat on this contract? Because they're going to have to eat a good portion of the first year or third year, I should say, on this contract, because there's no way a team could take on this whole contract with what we've seen from his quarterback performance this year. It just has not looked good. I know that adding Frank Reich to the mix, and maybe that will, spark some old good memories for Carson. But like I said, that contract is too big for a lot of teams to take the risk. It's got to be them getting some picks and also having the Eagles take on some of the salary. But that is a good fit. I hope that could work out, because I think Jalen Hurts, from what I've seen, I'm wrong. I am wrong. I'm glad he started. I'm glad he was thrown to the wolves, because Jalen Hurts looks very good right now. There's 3 boomer quarterbacks right now, boomer sooner. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, Carson Wentz it's in a tough spot. I don't think he's going to get handed. I know he'll probably be with the Eagles next year, but when he eventually does land into the team, he's not going to be trusted to be the starter right away. It's going to be a situation like Ryan Tannehill, where he comes as a backup and waits for his opportunity. And if he gets that opportunity, that's his chance to shine and show that outside of Doug Peterson and that awful Eagles offense, he can succeed.
The Colts are the one team that can take on that contract and not be hindered down by it. And they are the one team that has been looking for a quarterback, because Andrew Luck suddenly said, I'm done. So they need somebody. And Carson Wentz, Frank Reich, who knows? Frank Reich seems like he might have been the brain behind the operation the whole time. So they can reunite them. Carson Wentz changes scenery. I can actually root for the guy, because I actually really like the guy, but I cannot root for him in that uniform. So I would like to see that. That would be awesome to see Carson Wentz, because that team, the Colts, they're just a quarterback away. And Phillip Rivers, he's not going to be there too much longer. They need to find somebody.
In football, have we ever seen a free agent, or not free agent, I should say, a player that wants to be traded with this giant of a contract? Like, I feel like a lot of teams, they're not going to eat this. Like, have we ever seen a guy like this, like to this magnitude of starting quarterback, be on the trading block because he stinks and he has so much money?
Brock Osweiler.
Oh, come on. I wanted to say it.
Brock Osweiler? What, he had like a 2-year contract.
Didn't he get
right?
traded?
No, that was
Didn't
like
he
a
get
4-year
traded? Didn't they
contract.
lose?
4-year contract?
Didn't
Okay.
they trade him for like a worse draft pick just to get rid of his contract?
It was the first NFL salary dump I've ever seen in my life.
Well, he wasn't making as much money as Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is making
No. Carson Wentz was making a lot more.
Yeah.
But I mean, that kind of situation.
Still $80 million. Brock Osweiler. I would even take Wentz over Osweiler at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And Patrick Higgins, he wants to know who's winning the Heisman Trophy.
It's got to be a lock right now for Mac Jones. Mac Jones, these last few weeks, I mean, his numbers have been incredible. I wish, obviously I wish none of this coronavirus stuff would have happened, but for the sake of college football, I wish Justin Fields had a full season, because I think Justin Fields with the full season would definitely be in that conversation to be a Heisman finalist. Well, he might be a Heisman finalist, even with 6 or 5 games, I should say. But Mac Jones, this whole season, he's got all the games played. That's one of the requirements that they're going to have to look into the Heisman, is you have the games played, because, Zach Wilson's going to be in that conversation as well. But Mac Jones, these last few weeks when it's mattered most, his stats have been incredible. He's going to win the Heisman.
I mean, yeah, you even look at Trevor Lawrence, and if he didn't miss a couple games because of COVID, his numbers would look a lot better too. So he'd be in that race. But I think it's Mac Jones running away from the field, just because that's such a good offense. Like he's a good quarterback, and the offense is just perfect, set up for a Heisman winner. So he did what he had to do, and he'll win it.
I'm going to give you the upset pick right here. Here's my ballot, my whole ballot right here. I'll give it to you. Top 4. 4, Andrew, your boy. Maybe not your boy anymore. He didn't play every game, though. Trevor Lawrence. I think some voters just say, I'm voting for the best player in college football. It's Trevor Lawrence. Simple as that. That's number 4. Number 3, this was my favorite all year. I really would have liked to see him win it, but he's not going to win this award after losing on Sunday or Saturday. Kyle Trask, number 3. Number 2, your pick, Mac Jones. And number 1, his teammate. We're going to get our wide receiver winning the award. It's Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith has been insane this year. He had his Heisman moment against LSU with the one-handed catch against Beckham's team. This guy has been awesome this year. One of the best seasons for a wide receiver in college football history. I do think they could split the vote enough between Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, and Devonta Smith where we get a little upset pick here. So I'm going to go against the grain here and pick Devonta Smith.
That would be very intriguing. I mean, we'd love to see a wide receiver win it. And Devonta Smith is, man, he's going to be a high draft pick. He is so talented. He's the best. I think he's the best Bama receiver to come out.
What he is doing without Jalen Waddle taking away. I know Mechie is really good, but he's no Jalen Waddle. And Jalen Waddle was projected to be better than Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith has done it in the return game. He's done it Catching the football, he's done everything. And this guy has just been insane this year.
Yeah, that whole Bama class, I really think Devonta Smith is going to be the best of all of them.
I agree. Really, if the Giants don't make the playoffs, God, please give me Devonta Smith in blue. I would love to see it. Next question here comes from an anonymous source, and he says, "The Fiend has been buried. Thoughts?" Pablo, I'll let you start with this question.
All right, let me put this down for a second.
Put what down?
Number one. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. We all know how talented Bray Wyatt is as a professional wrestler, as a character, but with this new Fiend persona that he has portrayed on television for the last year or two has been absolutely underwhelming, super underwhelming. I'm going to tell you why. Number one, this guy's a loser. This guy, every time he's in a big match, he loses, or every time he's supposed to be put in a big situation, he's just a loser, man. I can't even say enough things about this guy. But the fact that he loses and that he gets burned alive. I mean, come on, man. Not only is the storyline lame, but it's just
all
not
right,
necessary.
Pablo. Let me break you up here real quick because you're talking. He didn't get pinned in the middle of the ring. He didn't submit. The man got burned alive. This is a little different than just being buried anyway. Burned alive. It was a cool visual. He's probably going to come back with a whole different persona and everything. I think this could be good for the character in the long run more than anything.
Well, Steve, you know what I think would be great for the character is if they just absolutely abandon this and they repackage him as the old Bray. I'm sick and tired of this Fiend idiot. Alexa Bliss has been carrying this gimmick for months now. There's nothing special about Bray Wyatt anymore. Every time he's on TV, he's turning it to get off my TV worthy, at least for me. I just can't stand to watch what they have done to him.
How many times can you repackage a guy, though, before it's just time to give up?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's.
I think we gotta see what happens when he comes back first before anything. I think we have to give him that time. But yes, I think it was a cool visual what happened. Obviously, he's gonna come back and it's gonna be something crazy. I don't think it's as drastic as you're making out to be. I know you got to gas a little bit, but I do think that he'll come back from this, and it'll be interesting. He'll get eyes to the screen. You'll be watching.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't watch World Wrestling Entertainment. I think it's trash. Minus Roman Reigns, there's nothing that's even worth watching, especially on Monday nights. It's terrible. But then you have people coming after you, especially coming after me on Instagram, saying that
after you on Instagram,
this guy's gonna be the next Undertaker and all this. I mean, nothing that this company has done can ever compared to the Undertaker, especially nothing that has been on TV within the last 2 to 5 years. Everything that they have put on has just been failure, repetitive garbage. It's the same thing every single week, every single year. They're never going to go back to how good they were. That's just it.
All right. Well, let's go to our next.
If you say that, then why do you watch it?
I don't watch it.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got the question from an anonymous source who just wanted to get Pablo's opinion on it. Our next question comes from Dan Rodriguez. He says, everyone's top 3 Christmas movies.
Ooh.
Tough.
Ooh. I was thinking about this one the other day, actually.
All right, I'll start because I'm not a big Christmas movie guy, but I'll start. I'm putting top 3. Number 1, well, let's not number them. I'm just going to give you my top 3 because I can't rank these.
You got to number them.
All right, my number 1. My number 1 is Elf. I'm a big Elf guy. I'm putting Elf at number 1. Number 2, I don't watch a lot of Christmas movies. I think some of them are cheesy. So I'm going to go with one that I thought was hilarious. So I'm going to go.
I know where you're going.
Give me the underdog here. Give me A Very Howard and Kumar Christmas as my number 2 pick right there.
Stinks. All right.
And my third, give me The Grinch. The Grinch is my third. So those are my top 3 Christmas movies.
Damn.
Alrighty, I guess I'll go second then, huh?
Which Grinch, Steve?
I think I gotta go with the live action Jim Carrey one because that one is funny. I did like a lot of people didn't like the new one that came out last year, the animated one. I did like that one a lot. Good. Tyler the Creator did the soundtrack. The animation was impeccable. Benedict Cumberbatch was great as the Grinch, and I thought the movie was it was a really good movie. Pablo.
I guess if I have to go here, I'm just looking up some movies, just to sort of refresh my memory. I'm just going to give you three. Three of my favorites. Doesn't mean they're necessarily the three of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Just the three I can think of. Number one, you got Home Alone. Home Alone's a classic. I know Andrew and Dan, you guys are definitely thinking about Home Alone. It's a toss-up between one or two, but I am going to go with the original. Yeah. I do believe that the first Home Alone is superior, and it's a great movie. I'm going to go with Die Hard. Die Hard, believe it or not, is a Christmas movie.
It is happening. Yep, it does take place.
Place on Christmas. So Die Hard, Bruce Willis. That's the best Bruce Willis has ever done. I'm not a big Bruce Willis guy, but those were his best movies. And number three, I'm just going to throw one out here. I'm going to say Christmas with the Cranks. I just think it's a funny movie. I just remember seeing it in the theater, and I really didn't think I was going to like it too much, but it ended up being pretty funny.
I'm not going to be original with my three, but I did write these before either of them said theirs. You know, they took mine. One, Elf, classic, best Will Ferrell movie of all time. Two, Home Alone 1, fuck you, Pablo. Three, Die Hard, fuck you, Pablo.
No way.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I'm going to stay kind of similar. How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey is the best Christmas movie of all time. My favorite. Number two, Elf. I mean, it's just an absolute classic. And number three, A Christmas Story.
Nice.
I mean, they play it 24 hours straight on TBS, TNT on Christmas Day. If you've never seen it, tune in. It has a lot of time slots to watch.
Hey, basketball is on Christmas Day. What do you want me to do?
Okay, there's 24 hours of this movie.
I've seen The House.
Fine, 2 hours.
I've seen The House.
Harold and Kumar Christmas was a terrible movie.
No, Pablo, you were 5 years old when you saw Christmas the Cranks in theaters. How the hell did you know you even liked that movie?
Number one.
You weren't even allowed in theaters.
I was 8 years old. Okay, so it's time to relax.
Oh, shout out the worst Christmas movie of all time, The Polar Express.
Yes,
I want that to
terrible. If anybody likes that movie, that movie sucks.
The worst.
I saw it on a field trip in the third grade.
It sucks.
Why do you remember every single place you've seen Christmas movies? Where'd you see The Grinch?
I actually did see it in the movies. I forget which movie theater it was, but I do remember watching it.
The Grinch came out in 1994.
The Grinch came out in 2000. Look it up, Andrew.
All right. What about The Grinch that came out in 1964? When did you see that one?
I actually
also in 2000 you were 3 years old, man.
I actually all right, guys.
You got it on DVD.
You can't face the music. So
Pablo has gotten up. He's going to look.
His food is here. His Uber Eats is here.
All right. And our next question comes from, well, here's one from Robbie Nunez. He says the Before the Score Athlete of the Year, but I think we should save that for next year for our year-end show. So I'm going to save that one. And now I'm going to save his other question for last. Our other question, I believe it's only two more. All right, Pablo's getting outed here because Pablo asked this question to himself.
Wait. I was looking for How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Here we go.
I have it on paperback, but I couldn't find it. Continue.
Paperback? What are you reading it?
We're talking about movies here, man, not Christmas books.
All right, and Pablo wants to know everyone's Christmas wish for one of their respective favorite sports teams.
This is a very good question.
How about
Pablo?
You start because you've obviously thought about this, Pablo.
Well, number
Yankees
one,
World Series.
Yankees.
A Yankees World Series.
I would love a World Series, but that's too big. That's too easy.
Yes, I agree. That is too easy. Good.
That's too easy.
Too easy because they're gonna do it anyway.
I'm gonna say a trade for a big time pitcher coming to the Bronx. Now, aside from DJ LeMahieu, I want that to happen, but I do think that is a strong possibility. That's not something where it's a Christmas gift. You know, I'm putting it aside. So a Christmas gift is something that you don't think is going to happen, but if it did happen, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So I'm going to say the Yankees trading for a front end starter. And I'm going to throw this out there by saying Luis Castillo. The last time a Luis Castillo was in New York, we all saw what happened. I was at that game. Yankees Mets, one of my favorite games I ever attended. But this Luis Castillo is a winner. He doesn't drop balls. He has a nasty sinker. He has great movement on all his pitches. And I do see him being a very strong number two behind Garrett Cole.
which is good for the Yankees because he has control, because he has 2 more years, I think, of control on his contract. So that's going to take a lot of, farm products from your farm system. But with the Yankees salary cap issues, and every MLB team salary cap is a big deal, these next 2 years where he's not making a lot of money, that'd be a great fit, because obviously they could pay him down the road. Christmas item I would like for my sports team. I'm obviously not going to go with the, win the Super Bowl or, World Series. I think George Springer to the Mets would be my favorite gift. I am praying for this to happen. The Mets need a lockdown center fielder. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the MLB. You throw in George Springer, who's an definitely above average center fielder, along with throwing him at the 1 or 2 spot. I mean, he could play anywhere in the lineup, but 1 or 2 would be a great spot for him. And he's got the power. He's got the average. He's an amazing hitter. Overall, this just makes so much sense. Just Steve Cohen, please do not lose out in a bidding war to the Toronto Blue Jays. I beg of you.
Yeah. So you guys are all going the acquisition route. I want to go non-player related, non-championship related, because obviously I want the Mets to win a World Series, the Jets win a Super Bowl, etc. So I trust in Uncle Stevie in getting the right players and building the right roster for the 2021 Mets. So aside from that, I'm going to wish that he brings back the Mets black jerseys for an alternate. So a once or twice a week thing, night games only because they look horrible during the day, but bring back the Mets jerseys. He's acknowledged it on Twitter. So I think there might be some discussions there eventually, hopefully in the next year or 2, but that's what I want to see.
Well, he did put out, would you rather have Mets black jerseys or Carvel ice cream back? So we got to see what Mets fans picks. It's only going to be one or the other, Andrew.
Why was Carvel ice cream ever taken away? Number 1. I mean,
exactly.
Carvel ice cream is gassed.
All right, here we go. My pick for Christmas, opening up the box on Christmas morning, is I hope Dave Gettleman opens up a pink slip and gets fired because I cannot stand this man as a Giants general manager. I get he had a good offseason. He has drafted 1 Pro Bowl player since coming to the Giants, and it was Saquon Barkley. He didn't even play this year. Man, I can't take it anymore. I really can't. This guy needs to go. Just for my sanity, I can't listen to Giants fans complain about him anymore. Just get me a GM in there who will make the right decisions, who's not from the Stone Age. I need a forward-thinking GM that can work with Joe Judge, because Joe Judge, great Christmas present last year. Now give me the one this year and fire Dave Gettleman. And I'm greedy, so I'm going to go one more. Give me Tom Thibodeau to play the young guys for the Knicks. I don't want to see Julius Randle out there. I don't even want to look. I'll turn off the damn TV when he's on the screen. I want to see Quickly. I want to see Barrett. I want to see Mitchell Robinson. I want to see Kevin Knox shoot the lights out again. Let me see the young guys carry the Knicks to the 8th seed. That's what I want to see. And final question here comes from Robbie Nunez, and he wants to know, in honor of our 1-year anniversary, what is the best sports moment since the podcast was created last year?
Oof.
So that is a tough one.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go
Great
last.
Question.
Because if somebody doesn't take it, I'm just going to throw it in there. But somebody go.
Well, I'm going to go with my favorite real quick, and that's Steve Cohen buying the Mets. However, the best sports moment to me, and I think to the world, was watching the NBA bubble actually become a thing and being successful, and finally crowning LeBron James as the Los Angeles Lakers won the championship. I really think LeBron winning his 4th title this year, and one of the hardest ways to win it through the bubble, being 90 days inside and cannot leave for these NBA players. That was such a huge accomplishment for him and for the sports world to acknowledge that he is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. That's a different conversation we'll have another time.
I think for me, it was, this is not, obviously 99% of people are not going to agree with it, but MLB opening day, just that first day of baseball back after being stripped of it a couple of weeks before the regular season was supposed to start in March when the pandemic hit. All the buildup between the negotiation between the players and the owners and everything. And everyone was questioning what a baseball season would look like, if there even is one. And then finally getting to see them play, fans or no fans, just seeing baseball being played was probably one of the most like relieving days of the whole pandemic.
Yeah, maybe an obvious answer, but without sports for those couple months, it was just a rough couple months, seeing NASCAR be the first one to come back, then getting all these other sports back. It was just fantastic times. And then finally getting football back, which I never thought we were going to have this year. Having football this year is an accomplishment in its own. That Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson opening night game, I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this right now. So that was awesome. Personal, my favorite moment for my favorite sports teams this year, either the Giants Seahawks game, Giants beating the Seahawks, or the New York Rangers getting a number 1 overall pick in the NHL draft lottery. Because who the hell thought that was going to happen? When that lotto ball came up and it said the Rangers logo, I was jumping up and down. I called everybody. I couldn't believe it. So that's definitely in my top sports moments of 2020.
Well, I'm going to look back during this great year that we have had on the Before the Score podcast. My number 1 moment was seeing Garrett Cole pitch in pinstripes. That's something that, especially if you look back at one of our first episodes, I was very excited about. I actually do believe our first episode was the fact that the Yankees did sign Garrett Cole, and I just remember just being so happy. And just looking back a year later, at the way the world has changed, the way financial situations have changed, I do not think if Garrett Cole is a free agent in this offseason, the Yankees would have gone after him. Especially not with the aggressiveness, especially when you look at financially, a lot of teams are backing off and nobody really wants to pay players right now. You look at all the talent that's available on the market. They're available because you really don't know the state of the game. You don't know about the DH. You don't know about the expanded playoffs. You don't know about fans in the seats. You don't know about anything. You don't even know when the season's actually going to start. So that to me was the biggest sports moment and my favorite sports moment. But I'm gonna spin this a little bit. My favorite night on the podcast was kind of a scary night. It was the night that we found out that, Rudy Gobert had tested positive, and the fact that they were canceling the NBA season. To me, that's a night that will forever go down as one of the most just clueless, one of the most oh no, I don't know what's going to happen moments in my entire life. That's something where we didn't know what was going to happen in terms of the sports world, the real world. We didn't know what was going to happen in terms of the podcast. We didn't know if we were actually going to be able to do shows. We didn't know about this whole Zoom thing, So that's something that completely changed not only the way sports went down, not only the way the world happens, but it also changed the way we do our show. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in every single week, because without you guys, without Zoom, and without Discord, none of this would have ever been possible.
Couldn't say it any better myself, Pablo. Crazy year. Just absolutely insane. To think at that, you go back, you look at that podcast, we were planning an XFL tailgate. And I said, you know what? We probably aren't going to do that. The XFL isn't even around anymore. So it just tells you how crazy that times were at that moment in time and how crazy the first year of this podcast has been. And it shows a lot how we were able to continue doing episodes as often as we have. Let's get to our Christmas themed part of the show here. We did it for Halloween. Dan, you missed out. This is more topical.
Oh,
no, you missed out on
for Halloween.
Thanksgiving. I have no idea what's happening.
Dan doesn't get this one. That was a food draft. We're talking.
Oh, okay.
So this 3v3 at the basketball courts.
Oh boy.
Which Christmas characters are you picking for your team? How are you going to run the team off the courts? So we're doing the draft here. Of course, all of us are a member of our 3v3. So you're picking 2 people. Dan, you missed the first draft. So you can get the number 1 pick. It's a snake draft. So we'll go Dan. Second pick.
Does this have to be a specific person from a movie or just an overall Christmas character? Or can it be
number 1? It cannot be a skeleton from the
Home Depot.
Home Depot. That doesn't count. Okay.
I mean, the 12-foot skeleton was a damn good draft.
All right. Well, Pablo, you picked Chucky. So that just wasn't going to happen. So that's why. So Pablo, you can get the number 2 pick because you picked Chucky. You obviously need some help with this. Andrew, I believe you got the most votes because of that stupid, dumb skeleton. So you're getting the last pick. So I'll get the 3rd pick. So that's the draft order we'll go. That means, Dan, you're pointing at the crowd. You're picking your first member of your drafting team. So let's see it.
Okay. So I don't know if a lot of people are going to know who this is, but I think when I start my team and it's a 3v3, I need someone being physical in the paint. This is a war we're going. 3v3. I'm taking the Abominable Snowman from Rudolph. This guy can lock down the paint, and he is going to be a force to reckon with. Try getting past him. I bet you can't.
Pablo, were you picking the Abominable Snowman?
That's bullshit. That was my pick.
Might surprise a lot of people.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the evil, the despicable Grinch.
Oh,
Let me tell you something about Mr. Grinch. Number one, he has weird-looking hands. I don't know what he can do with those hands. You know what tricks he has underneath his fingernails or whatever. But he's tall. He can move around. He's very sneaky. He's very evil. He will do whatever it takes to win, whether that means cheating or whether that means doing something to the other team. It doesn't matter, especially if the game is played in Whoville. Everybody is going to come out to see it, and they're going to be rooting against them. And just like a wrestler, just like a heel wrestler, just like Roman Reigns, if you want to sit at his table, you're going to have to do a lot. And you're not going to be able to beat the Grinch, because you know what? The Grinch not only steals Christmas, he steals the show playing basketball. So there's nothing you guys could do.
Well, yeah, the Grinch, that was my pick there, man. You need a mean mugger on the team. You need somebody dirty. That's your Charles Oakley right there. Yeah. So you're lucky there with the Grinch. You know what? You really leave me thin here, and I don't even know who to pick, so I'm going to go.
First round.
I know. Both my picks gone. I got to go with Buddy the Elf.
Bullshit. That's another pick of mine.
What do you mean? Everyone's going to pick him.
The man saved Christmas. The man saved Christmas. He needs to be the first round pick. Give me Buddy the Elf. He's hopped up on sugar. He won the Elf basketball league, if you remember, in the opening credits of Elf.
Yeah.
So Buddy the Elf, MVP of the Elf basketball league.
He's like 6'4" playing against Elf, so of course he won. Doesn't mean he's actually good.
All right, it's like a D3 player going D1. You know, he's gonna get a reality check. Okay,
my pick, like the 12-foot skeleton, is a little unorthodox. I'm gonna go with the toy Santa that Tim Allen plays in Santa Claus 2. He's big. He's built like Santa. He's not human. He has those inhuman abilities. So give me toy Santa.
Okay, well, I know you obviously have a type in these kinds of drafts. You like inanimate objects, apparently.
But he moves. He actually moves on his own.
All right, so you start off round 2 now. So who's your final pick?
Well, I was gonna go Abominable Snowman. I was gonna go Buddy the Elf. You're gonna have to give me like 30, like 10 seconds to think of this. Okay.
You always pick Howard and Kumar.
No. Fine. Give me Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
He's in a Christmas movie.
Okay.
If we can list Die Hard as a Christmas movie in our top 3, we could put Bruce Willis on our basketball team for Christmas.
I guess.
Characters.
All right. Here's my pick, and this is going to be an upset pick. I've been scouting this man for years. So Santa Claus is a fat man. He's not going to be in the post. Yeah. He's not going to do much. He's not going to run up and down the court. But you know who has Santa's powers, but doesn't have the recognition? Give me Fred Claus. Vince Vaughn.
It's a fire pick, actually. I forgot about Fred Claus.
I'm taking Fred Claus, Santa Claus's brother, the more athletic, the more handsome, the more normal, the man who doesn't get surrounded by stupid yes men elves all year. So give me Fred Claus as my number 2 pick. Me, Fred Claus, and Buddy the Elf. We're going to be running circles around the Abominable Snowman.
All right, I'll tell you what. If this game isn't played in some type of winter climate, then I lost automatically because it's going to be a 3v2. I'm going to have to go with Frosty the Snowman. Frosty the Snowman, he's, whatever you want to say. He's a very happy man. He wears his nice little hat. He's got his nice little broom. So whenever he takes care of business, he's going to swipe and wipe away everyone's tears, especially when all the tears are going to be aimed at his teammate, Mr. Grinch. So I'll tell you what, Frosty the Snowman, give me the Grinch, give me myself. I think it's over here.
All right. Well, listen, here's my gripe with your team right there. Let me tell you. Frosty the Snowman is jolly as hell. Well, the Grinch is the Grinch, and Frosty the Snowman. Yeah, Dan's right. He's even traveling every time he gets the ball. He's also a smoker. So this man has the bad lungs. So
Yeah, he
I don't
does.
know. Frosty the Snowman, that's an F on the draft grade.
Yeah, F pick. I was thinking about it, but then I really thought of all the negatives of Frosty the Snowman. It makes sense. I have one pick in mind, and right now I'm going to go with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Come on,
And
man. He doesn't have hands.
that is only because
He
he's
should
got
fly.
to blind his opponents in front of him that are guarding him. They won't be able to get
Bullshit.
inside on him. He's a big character. I think he could do a lot. And then I need a point guard. I want like a little point guard, you know?
No, there's only 3, man. You got to pick one of these 2. You're one of the 3.
I'm one of the 3?
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, it's ain't a 4-on-4.
Oh, all right.
It's like
I'll
Pablo's
take
already at a
Rudolph. I got
disadvantage.
2 picks. That's it. I thought I got a 3rd pick. All right.
Who were you deciding between? Let's hear the last one.
No, I was between that pick and then Gonzo from the Muppets, from A Muppet Christmas.
Really? Just
Gonzo.
concede.
All right. Well, if I'm looking at these teams right now, Dan's team I can scout by watching one movie. Pablo's team, the team morale is all over the place. And then Andrew's, you got the inanimate object, but Bruce Willis is a sneaky good pick right there. So I don't know what I'm doing with these teams. I have to leave this up to Instagram to figure out.
Yeah.
My God.
I mean, I think the number 1 overall pick. I really am surprised you guys thought about that character, the Abominable Snowman.
Abominable Snowman? I was gonna. Would like Yeti count for that? Would a Yeti?
I
Yeti.
mean, he's
It's
a
like-
Yeti kind
Mr.
of.
Brown,
Yeah.
the Yeti.
We have the same thing. I was thinking like Abominable Snowman. Like
Well,
slash Yeti.
Abominable Snowman has a weakness. You just give him a little elbow. Obviously, his teeth are his weakness, as you saw
You're not
from
getting up there.
from Herbie, the elf dentist, removing them.
All right, well, I mean, Frosty the Snowman's not going to have any part of taking those, and maybe the Grinch could be a problem, but he's not going to be matched up against the Grinch. Well,
All right. Well, Pablo, once again, worst pick of the draft. I think that's an easy one.
Frosty the Snowman.
Chucky and Frosty the Snowman. Man, you just want to lose these rounds.
You picked a child to play basketball with you last time.
That was funny though.
Pablo thought he was going to run around like a little menace. Well, I don't know if we have time to predict all the football games, so I think we can we can leave those. I'll get the picks in the group chat. We'll post those during the week. But I do need to get the thoughts of one Andrew Morgan on his Jets taking themselves basically out of the running for Trevor Lawrence. So, Andrew, how did you feel when the Jets beat the Los Angeles Rams?
There's a few perspectives on it. I'm prior to this season, I've always been a part of the fan base that doesn't root against losses because it doesn't change whether or not your team's actually going to win or lose. It's just more enjoyable to root for them to win than be miserable every week and just hope they lose just for the sake of something that's going to happen in May. But this season broke me. This is the worst football I've ever watched in my life, and it's not particularly close. So I just wanted them to lose, get it over with. I didn't even enjoy rooting for them to win. I didn't even enjoy watching them play football to begin with because they had no players to really watch for besides an offensive tackle and a wide receiver that's played 7 games. So yes, I was rooting for them to lose. And of course, the game they're the biggest underdog in, they win. And I had the Rams defense in fantasy. So I was like, wow, this is a double whammy. I hate this. So I was a little bit upset. So I was not happy, as were 80% of Jet fans. So that was pretty brutal. Most of the time, there's no surefire, like can't miss prospect because the Jets really have problems developing quarterbacks, and to miss out on the easiest quarterback to develop the past 10, 15 years, that's really crushing. But on the other perspective, you look at the top quarterbacks and the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, and how many of them are number 1 picks in the draft? Not a lot of them. So there's quarterbacks in every draft that go lower than what they actually turn out to be. So you just gotta trust that they draft the right guy and they put the right pieces around them. So it sucks. It sucked at the time, and it gives you a really pessimistic outlook at the team. But at the end of the day, they can still be successful with whoever they draft, and there's some great quarterbacks in this class. So it's not, the sky isn't really falling yet.
Real quick from the other resident Jets fan here.
There you go.
So what stood out the most to this win was they were trying the whole season to win.
Yeah,
They
no,
were trying.
they're
This
never
was
not
not a
gonna try.
tank. They were never tanking.
No.
They were never,
There's no tanking in the NFL.
No.
As much as
No,
people want
no-
to think
no
it.
team
No,
tanks.
this was
Front
full
offices
out-
can tank.
Adam
Focus
Gase
and
giving
engagement
it his all
players.
every week. This was all the players trying their hardest. This just goes to show how bad of a position the Jets are in right now. That they were trying the entire season. Crazy.
I will give
Crazy.
credit where credit is due here. Adam Gase does deserve credit for keeping his team 0-13 going against the Rams, 9-4, a team that many have picked going to the Super Bowl. I got to give him credit where credit is due because nobody in the world gave them even a shot in hell of winning that game. And to walk into the Los Angeles Rams home, beat them on their home turf as an 0-13 team, that is impressive no matter how you slice it. It shows that, yes, Adam Gase may be terrible and Andrew, you hate him, but he can kind of coach in the NFL. It takes somebody to keep his team invested there. And also, like you said, the Jets getting this one win. There aren't many years where there's this amazing can't miss quarterback prospect. But at the end of the day, you will not go down in history as an 0-16 team. You will not join the likes of the Lions and the Browns. That means something to players. That means something in the history of the NFL. Who knows if Trevor Lawrence even works out for either team? Even if he is a Jet, he probably, maybe he breaks his leg in the first game as a Jet, Justin Fields could be better. It's just, you got to let these things play out.
To Dan's point, yeah, they're trying and they're going to go 0-16, but there's teams like the Lions and the Browns that tried. They weren't tanking. Players and coaches never really tank. So they were trying. They lost damn every game. So the Jets, they could have, there's a few games that they looked pretty good in. They should have beat the Patriots, should have beat the Raiders. They had a lead in the first half against the Bills. Like, with a competent coach and a few pieces here and there, like, they're could be a 5-win team. Like, they're not in the worst position that you could possibly be in.
The Jets should definitely have 3 wins in the year.
Yeah.
Should have 3 wins. They
with a
could
competent coach, they have at least 3 wins.
And they could very well end up with 2 wins on the year by the end of the year. So I do think, while it was nice, it sucks that the Jets were in position for the number 1 pick all year and lose it at the very end.
That's what sucks.
And the Jaguars too. They have had positions to win games too. They beat the Colts. They could have beat the Browns. They could have beat I forget their team. They could have beat. They were close.
Vikings.
They could have Vikings, the Titans. They were close in all these games. So the Jaguars are not that bad either. So Trevor Lawrence, while the records may be terrible, he's not walking into a terrible situation either way you slice it, no matter who it ends up with. And the Jets still have an outside shot at the pick. So I do, but it's just fun to clown the Jets. That's just the way it is in the NFL. That's what's funny about it. But I believe that we'll get to our NFL picks on Instagram and everything later in the week. But I believe that's all we have today for our Christmas special 1-year anniversary show. We got 16 questions, did them all, Christmas draft. So we need everybody on Instagram to help us out with that one. Need to grade Pablo's Frosty the Snowman selection because that was a head scratcher. But thanks for listening. As Pablo said before, thanks for all the support for the last year, and everybody, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. And we'll be here next week for our year-end review show as we did last year. So enjoy the holidays, everybody.